Hey everybody, Sergeant Ross back here. They're doing it again. They just keep doing it. And and it's so frustrating because it makes my episodes repeated, but there has to be an answer. Somebody has to, and I know I got to find a better way because a lot of this is just going to be me saying the same crap that you've heard before. But I'm going to say something and people are going to think that I'm going for likes or I'm trying to be um whatever, extra as the kids say. I believe this woman right here, and I believe the Times, the pretend journalists that don't do any journalism, are worse than those officers that were convicted of killing inmate Brooks. You think that I'm just making stuff up. You think that I'm just trying to get clicks, but I swear to God, I'm not. Those officers are victims of a system. Um, and God, it's a system. It's a system that goes all the way to the top. It's been running us for our whole existence that I know, my whole existence. Um, the way this power structure is set up to hurt us and keep us divided and keep us fighting each other. And I'll be honest with you, I try and stay out of saying nice things about inmates, not because I don't. I Inmates are victims of the same system that those officers are victims. They're put in a culture that rewards violence, uh, and then they got caught by the system that created the culture, and they got punished for it. And the problem with the Salazar, she's making the system. She's the power broker. And instead of going, this system's broken, we need to fix it, she's saying, humans are the fault. Those men are the fault. And all men, correction officers, what she say, but how many incarcerated people have been murdered by staff responsible for caring for them? So it's a valid question on its own. But that's not what she's saying. She's saying correction officers are bad and we need to punish them all. All right. And if you go look at the article, I'm going to just bring it up right here. Not that you can see it, but an inmate named Ladal Kennedy stopped breathing one night in a New York prison cell. No one paid it much mind. So basically, this inmate passed away after use of force. Um, he's mentally ill, and he'd been pepper sprayed, beaten, and handcuffed, held face first under running water, and fitted with a spit hood. Again, it's all on how you say it. They used force on him, and they say it's beaten. He was handcuffed, held face first under running water. The only thing I could this really pisses me off. So I believe what they mean by held face first under running water is washing out his eyes because he had pepper spray, and it's called decontamination. So an officer looks at this, he says, "All right, guards pepper sprayed because that's the first thing you do." Beaten, i.e., use of force, handcuffed, held face first under running water, decontaminated, and fitted with a spit hood. So he was spitting, and they put a mask on him so he couldn't spit on people. Spitting means he was still fighting. All right, he was still doing whatever he could to attack officers. Now I watched the video, and it's just like the last video that I watched that they put on the news. And here's one. Okay, it's just straight a regular, non-super violent. Like they're all going to be violent. You're going to go in there, you're going to spray and you beat him down. What they don't say, and what I saw from the video, he tied his door shut. Um, yeah, once they went in there and they got him, he's going, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." But you don't just go, "Oh, well, you're sorry, we're good." No, 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 no. I know we've been here for 4 hours trying to get, or probably 3 days if it's a bunch of trays. All right, I'm going to go through this one by one. So they come in. An inmate stopped breathing one night. Okay, that doesn't mean he was murdered. That means he stopped breathing, and he did it several hours after the use of force. And he had really bad heart conditions. There is a huge difference between being beaten to death and going through something extremely physical, like being having force used upon you in an extreme manner, and then your body can't take all that, and because you have a bad heart because you've been doing drugs and you're just been messed up your whole life and you're mentally ill doing just crazy shit, eating batteries and stuff. I don't know if this guy did it, but this is common with these guys that they just swallow batteries and razors and everything, and they're just totally messed up. There's a huge difference between beating a man to death and um, dying after a use of force. Now, there's more to this. and we'll get into that. But right now, they're already. This is not journalistic. He'd been pepper sprayed by guards. That's part of the process. Again, this is another thing. When you say peppered sprayed by guards, he was the guards were ordered by directive to pepper spray him. The guards were ordered by directive to use force. The guards were ordered by directive to handcuff. The guards are ordered by directive to decontaminate or hold his face under running water so they get the stuff out of his eyes. The guards were ordered by directive to put a spit mask on him. Um, like that's the truth. All of that I just said is the truth. Directive says this is what they have to do. That is protocol. And if they don't do that, something bad could happen to them. All right. All because he had failed to return some food trays and cups that had been handed to him in his house. Now, this is not, it's not, he didn't return his food tray, we go beat him up. It's, all right, this guy's had the same trays for four days. You can't not feed him. He's not giving it back. Uh, this guy is probably, and I don't know this, but he's probably been a problem child for years. He's probably got a list a mile long on all the shit that he does. And finally said, all right, we got to go and get his stuff because you can't just let him keep it and you can't starve him to death. And he is mentally ill. I'm not saying it's the right way. Um, I'm saying it's the department's way. And probably a lot of guards pissed off at me because if the department changes, it'll be like, I'm sorry, sir, would you please give us back? No, okay, you can keep them for a while. But whatever's happened here, this dude, he had his mattress up against, if you look at the video, if you want to go, I hate giving times clicks, but he had his mattress up against the door and he had his door tied shut. So he wasn't saying please or I'm sorry or I didn't. He was fighting and he created this. And yes, he was mentally ill. And yes, we need a better way to do it. But the officers were following procedures designed by the docs, but they're not attacking docs. They're not attacking the procedures. They're attacking the officers. 20 guards charged in the. Okay, then they do a little recap of Brooks and Messiah non-tweet. I really want to look up non-tweet because I haven't done it yet. That one was a real shocker to me because you don't know, but everybody was walking on eggshells. When I go in, I was a sergeant at the time, and when I go into a cell and I have guys with me, I always look and see my guys. And if I have a super aggressive guy or super, I give him, I'm like, hey, only if we need it. Relax. And if I have if I have a non-aggressive guy, I put him towards the back, and I put a more aggressive guy up front. So, you know, but during the after the Robert Brooks man, even your more aggressive guys that are ready to go in there and do the work, because f that guy, them guys were like, yeah, let's be careful. Everybody was back down in my experience, and I was really shocked to find out what happened with non-tweet. So sweeping measures to pranks, yeah. Again, lawmakers have way overdone all the accountability for officers shit and absolutely left any kind of the mental health. We'll get into that. Vinny um, podcast in hell, living in hell podcast. God, I'm sorry, Vinny. I don't want to butcher that. And Vinny hasn't. I don't know Vinny. I've asked Vinny a couple questions, but his working in hell podcast is phenomenal. If you really want to find out, the one he just did on mental health was just amazing. Um, Let me get back to this. So, anyways, yeah, I'm really shocked about the non-tweet one because most people were walking on eggshells. Mr. Kennedy's case passed by largely unnoticed. Other men have died after beatings like Mr. Brooks. I know of an inmate that passed away after a beating. Ugh, so they got me saying after use of force, and it was terrifying because you're like, we didn't do that. Like we didn't do that, and it was different from this one. I believe this guy had some interviews. He may have died because of the use of force, but there is a huge difference between dying after a use of force that was sanctioned by direct by your management and sanctioned by the Department of Corrections and video by the Department of Corrections, and what happened to Brooks. And I don't know about non-tweet. Excuse me. So they identified through. Hold on. They don't really. I don't see any real. So it doesn't really say over the past. Okay, let me. I got to reread this. I'm sorry. I read this once, but I thought they had more information on this guy. I think because they got the video for this guy. Because remember, these guys aren't asking questions and trying. They are trying to demonize officers. That's it. And honestly, I can't help but notice that really helps Docs out, who also hates their officers, even though Docs is the one that made this. And I'm not attacking Docs. I don't want you to think I'm attacking Docs. This is a system that's been in place for decades, decades and decades. And but Docs needs to come if there's a problem with the system, because it is the system that created this. Bottom line, and whether it didn't take into account the not enough accountability, because OSI has looked at all this stuff, and if OSI has been telling these guys, yeah, that's good, yeah, you're good for decades, and now all of a sudden it's not good, it's OSI needs to change. There are ones in the middle who say, hey guys, you can't do that. You're on the line. Like there has to be a back and forth, not all of a sudden everything we told you is good. Now you're getting arrested and thrown in jail for the rest of your life. And I don't think anybody in this, and from what I've seen of the video, I don't think anybody is going to be in trouble for this. However, that doesn't mean the inmate won't get paid, because all you got to do, you don't have to prove anything when you go to the money courts. All you have to have a judge that thinks it's unfair and wants to change the world. You know, for a criminal court, there's proof that has to be met, which they won't get it because everything they did was legal and they were explained how to do it on camera. So, anyways, local medical official mystery, cause and manner undetermined in July 22nd. All right, in fact, just before he died, Mr. Kenny had been pepper sprayed, blah, blah, blah. He said, I'm sorry, at least 8 times. They pulled him on the cell. He told officers he could not breathe at least 20 times during the encounter. So this is another thing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry just doesn't count. You've spent hours and probably days being an asshole, and you've been offered free outs, you know, probably dozens of times. The sergeant's coming, the local officer that had a rapport with you's coming, the officer that doesn't have a rapport with you's coming. The sergeant's gonna come, probably on several different shifts, and then the watch commander's gonna come, and you know we've been through all this. The counselor's gonna come, and the spiritual leader's gonna come, and the mental health's gonna come, and you're gonna say no to all of them, and they got to go in and get you, and that's company policy, man. Company policy. We suit up and we go in, and you know all that too, and you know he knows it because he tried tying his gate shut and he tried hiding behind the mattress. So I'm sorry, at least 8 times. Just it sounds like you're going against the officers, but the bottom line is the directive doesn't say if he apologizes when you go in, you immediately stop all force and open the gate. Now, if you want to change it to that way, fine, but quit demonizing officers because of their doing their job, and that's really what we're at. This is why, and I started this off was saying the people that are now creating the policy are attacking human beings. That's wrong. Like these guys, it's wrong. Maybe they use too much force. Talk to them about it. You know, hey guys, it's too much. You guys don't need to use that much force. Um, Fix that situation. But right now, they're doing as they've been trained to do because you don't go in there after all the effort to get them out nicely. When it's go time, it's go time. And if there's a different way, then train them a different way. But you can't give them that and let them do it and then blame them. Anyways, these people, the fake news medias that aren't journalism, New York Times is straight trash. I hate that I'm giving it clicks. I don't ever go to the New York Times and look. The video's boring. It's just a regular video that I saw. So no, no, no. New York Times, after conducting dozens of interviews and reviewing thousands of pages of medical record filing, inmate death records, I've had 3 other cases who died after beatings in the past 3 years, including Mr. Kennedy. So far they got nothing. They didn't say anything that was uh bad against officers. They're just all the shit that they did. They changed the name of it from use of force to beating. From uh, what's the other one they did? From handheld face first under running from decontamination to held face first under running honor, and from fitted with a spit hood. Like they left out the fact that that's how directives and that was what the officers have to do by directive. It's not their choice. And they left out and they used words that are very inflammatory against officers. And this is a news organization because it's not really that good of an article when really the truth of the article should be, uh, and it should be a decent article, just not that much drama in it. It should be our NYS policies leading to deaths of inmates. Is this something we can avoid? Which we can. But demonizing officers is not the solution. And of course, they add that these new cases bear similarities to the high-profile deaths of Mr. Brooke. No shit, Sherlock. That's just more inflammatory against officers. More, I hate officers. Another inmate, Chloe, 62, told his daughter guards at Greenhaven had stomped on him and lashed his head with batons before he deteriorated and died of a massive brain bleed. Okay, that should all be on paper. OSI should have gone through that. They don't really give you a whole bunch of information on that. Um, was Now this guy? So they didn't have video on this guy. So this guy seems like a much harder one to look at. He was the only one of the three deaths that was ruled a homicide, although investigators have yet to determine whether it was caused by the inmate he was fighting or the guards intervened. Again, one of the reasons you need a better culture and a better system is because even if it happened by the officers, it's a use of force. He brought it to the point of a use of force. Um, are the officers trained in grappling? If you have a whole bunch of officers that have been studying grappling and being paid to go to jujitsu and they're beating them in the head, well, maybe you got an issue. But if you have a bunch of officers whose main tool for subduing an inmate is a baton, and that happens, you can't blame the officers. You got to blame the system. And now this guy doesn't say whether it was only Mr. Beatings was captured. I mean, first of all, that was a cert. Oh, it was a cert extraction, and it was videoed by the state. Another that was a good thing about the directive, if you want to put it that way, that they had the video. They didn't have video on the other one, so they're basically pushing for more video, which they got. There's videos everywhere now, and officers are wearing videos. They hired an independent reviewer, said he was not able to determine the cause. One expert who reviewed the case called the findings Christian. They put a spit on. As you can see, he starts that point saying, I can breathe. First of all, if you listen to the video, he says, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. He doesn't say, I can't breathe. You got to understand. That's what they do. I'll never forget after the I can't breathe guy. I forgot his name now. And I've told this story on a video before. I was extracting, or I was walking a high inmate back to medical that we pulled out of his cell, and he's high, just got the Fenny, whatever going, and he screams, I can't breathe. The whole place goes nuts. We hear that shit all the time. I can't breathe is all the time. It's not whether or not they say I can't breathe, and it sounds great when you put it on paper. It's how they say it. If they say, I can't breathe, all right, probably can't breathe, or probably can't breathe. If he goes, I can't breathe, you're like, all right, stop. That's like when they go, yo, see, I got chest pains. Like, oh, Jesus, 22 years old, mad because he didn't get toilet paper and he's got chest pains. So, anyways, they put the spit on him. You can see he starts to say he can't breathe, right? In my opinion, this was a death from asphyxia caused by the spit mask. Wow. First of all, he died hours after they took the spit mask. Like, they literally pulled this quack. You can call him Dr. Baden, whatever the hell you want. If it was asphyxiated from after you took the spit mask off, that again is a procedural problem. Nobody thinks that's ever a possibility. You have no fear about putting a spit mask on and then taking it off and him dying. If that's a thing, we need to do a study on it. We need to figure out. You can't not use spit masks because you people think it's okay for them to spit on us. Oh, that was awful. But anyways, uh, yeah, I don't know what this quack thinks because I'm not a doctor, but that sounds absolutely ridiculous to me. And they had to go find an independent, right? Because anybody with a common brain knows that that's ridiculous. And if it is, remember the one of the things that came from the I can't breathe thing was side asphyxiation. So nobody knew. Like if you weren't doing it all the time, you didn't know that if you leave them on their stomach, they would just sit there and die from asphyxiation. You didn't know that. So now we all know. Turn his head, put him on his side, and that's a new procedure that's fixed. So do we need a new procedure? Maybe, maybe not. But the fact that he thought it was death from asphyxia, even though that's just ridiculous. Any of the 3 minutes. So, in a statement, the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision said the evidence showed that the prison staff members had not caused the death of any. So, they're like the officers aren't going to get in trouble for this, and they shouldn't. But and that's good that the Department of Corrections came out. But is there a system problem that we can fix with these inmates that are dying? Is it a problem, or did he just go take some drugs and die? Um, the one guy told his kid he had got hit in the head, and they said he died of a brain bleed. Like that seems like maybe we could um, focus on health. And I don't ever want to get down on my nurses because my nurses have the hardest job in prison. Um, but maybe, and it's not blame on anyone. Maybe that's something. Maybe after, if it was recorded that he took headshots, perhaps we should put him on a one-on-one watch for the evening. There you go, problem solved. These are the kind of things we can do to fix problems that would have saved him. A one-on-one watch after definite head trauma makes sense to me. I don't even think officers would disagree because no officer wants an inmate to die, especially if they were doing the use of force. So maybe that is something that we could do, but acting like officers beat him to death and putting stuff on this is not cool. Because they have long suspected many more deaths filed. Yeah, so I just did a thing and I got my numbers right here. We just got the numbers for hey Opus, clip this one. We just got the numbers for January, which is the December numbers, and we had two overdoses and 62 unknown deaths. We need to find out. And I believe they're all Narcans because we have two overdoses, which is the same we had in 2021. It's less. We have two overdoses. We had 12 and 22, 28 and 23, 24 and 7, and 2 and 25. So our overdoses are going down to two. Our unknown deaths went from 1 to 19 to 56 to 62. And our Narcans went, I haven't got this year's Narcans, but in that same, they went from 475 to 717 to 714, and I'll bet we're higher this year. So Narcans, the amount of lives that officers have saved with Narcan has shot through the roof. The unknown deaths have shot through the roof, and the overdoses have gotten smaller. And it's simply because we cannot detect these drugs. It's very impossible to detect. So that's something that needs to be looked at. But they don't bring any of that. That's a solution. We don't bring that. All they do is bring up officers are bad. Officers are beating people to death. And even if it's true that uses of force are causing deaths, that is systemic. That is a problem with the system that we all need to fix. And we don't just need to fix it for the inmates. An officer who uses force and then the inmates die has serious mental health issues after that. And they don't even know it. Like a lot of them guys don't even know what their mental health, that they have mental health issues. What's this one? Excuse me 1 second. Okay, that's that video. I'm trying to download another video I just did. So that you can't. No human being can use force on another man, and that man dies and not be affected mentally about it. Even if you hate that man, even if that man's a rapist and a pedophile. I watch, and I've done it myself. Oh my God, I've seen officers, some of the toughest officers I know, almost in tears trying to save a life because they don't want him to die. They don't want him to die. Doing the Narcans, pulling him out, and it's really such a weird. I'm a people watcher. I love watching people. It's one of the cool things about prison. Yeah, it's dark, yeah, it's nasty, but boy, you see the ups and the downs and the lefts and the rights and the good and the evil in people. It is such a cool place that people watch. It is deep and it is dark, and it's like, I don't know. It's a people watching heaven. It's also a very dangerous heaven. But there's no accountability, said Jose. But what a lie. There's so much accountability. That first one, everything was on video, everything was seen, everything was examined by OSI. And the no accountability is there's no accountability to docs. It has to come down to the system. Whatever you're going to fix has to be within the system. This is the system that's been created. The only thing they're changing really is they're letting the inmates, they've taken away accountability for inmates and they've added all sorts of cameras to look at every single thing that officers do. And still we got the numbers. So what's that tell you? If all these cameras are coming in, the numbers aren't going down, the real numbers, the medical emergencies, the unknown deaths, they're not going down. What's that tell you? I can't breathe after the killing of George Floyd. Pace requiring all costs to be thoroughly investigated. That's good. I'm fine with that. Again, the only problem I have with them thoroughly investigating every death is the people like the Times and whatever channel ran the Times story and Salazar. They're not looking for answers and solutions. They are looking for uh, ways to hate officers and to demonize officers. Nobody focuses on the 700 whatever Narcans where the whole jail stops and everybody goes and saves a life. That happens every day in our prisons. Um, So if it's 700, if it's over 750 or whatever, that's almost twice a day an inmate's life is saved by the whole prison. It's a group effort. Civilian staff, officers, everybody stops, closes everything down, staff responds, drags them down. First aid, because Narcan doesn't just, there's the whole time. Oh, that's another thing we don't touch on. The whole time, if he's unresponsive when he comes out, we're doing first aid on him. Puke, everything. Got the mask, hit him on a thing, hit him on, staying alive, ah, 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 everything. And there's puke everywhere, and it's nasty. And then you hit him with the Narcan, and then when you do this, it's all immediately. I learned this as a sergeant really quick. Oh, I got to give props to my guys at Auburn. I had four um, inmates pass away as a sergeant, and they were, I believe, overdoses. I don't, but they weren't all marked as overdoses. I believe they were. No, I never really looked it up until all this started happening. But obviously, to us, we assumed they're overdoses. One dude was eating his dinner. They were all strong young guys, and anyways, we bring them out. My first body. And I don't mean to talk lightly about it, because I was in shock. I was like, "What the what?" And my guys hit it like it was, because these guys, a lot of these guys are the same guys doing it every day. It's the responders, the yard cops. The block calls it, and the yard cops come in and do it. And so the way this works is they got him in a cell. Boom, they go in, check him. He's not breathing. As soon as he says they're not breathing, one dude runs back and gets the first aid kit, and they pull them out and they immediately start, one on top, one on bottom, start doing rescue breathing, and the fourth guy comes in, and this happened to me. I think 3 out of the 4 times it was immediate, and I didn't even have to order it. The guy comes in. He's a sergeant now on my first one. He comes in, boom, he starts writing everything down, because now if he dies, it's a crime scene. If he gets Narcan, it's not a big deal. You don't need any of that information. Well, you need, if he gets Narcan, you need who Narcaned him, when they Narcaned him, and all that stuff. But if he lives, then you don't have to do the whole crime. If it's a crime scene, that guy writing the book is now there for the rest of the night. If he passes, or it looks like he might pass away. But every time someone gets the Narcan, you got to hold that crime scene for a while and make sure they're okay, because it could be a death. And so, but those officers were in so quick. They got the, we were Narcanning them. They were Narcanning them on my first one. I didn't Narcan my first one. But they pulled him out. By the time they had by the time, God, they might have said 2 rounds of breathing. The AED was there and hooked up, and they ran the AED. The guys recording everything. They're absolutely amazing. To watch it work is so impressive, and they get no love for it, no respect for it. Um, and they're the same officers. These officers that are responding and doing the Narcan and saving their lives are also the same officers that are, in quite a lot of cases, that are responding and using force when necessary. So it really is, you pick out the worst that they may do, and you hammer them, and you take the best of the lives that they save, and you completely ignore it. All right, they're bad. I don't see anything really in here. Fragile mental state. This is a real problem, and you can't blame an officer or a group of officers, CERT officers, going into a cell because, yeah, he's got mental health issues. Well, yeah, that sucks. It does, and we need to find a different system. But he also could have a razor in his ass, and I'm not getting cut up for you because you don't have a system for mental health. And this is the system you've designed, and I work within that system. And now you want to paint me as the bad guy, even though this guy has been turning this place upside down for 4 days, and they offered him a million chances to come out. If there's a better way to get them with the mental health, find it. They're working on it. They're definitely working on it. The problem is the systems that they're putting in place are being abused by guys that don't have mental health, because you know what prison's full of? Manipulative bastards. And as soon as they find out they can get free money when they get out in 6 years, if they do all this certain mental health stuff, then they're all playing that game. So mental health has to sift through 100 assholes trying to get benefits when they leave, or using the benefit, because once you're an S1 in there, you don't get shoe, you don't get, especially, well, now nobody does, but back a year ago or 2 years ago, 3 years ago, S1, if you were max, you didn't get shoe time. You got, oh, it wasn't his fault because he's a mental health thing. So that was the old game that they were playing um to get to, it's a lot of it's a power play to get to feel like they have power in prison. So, anyways, not long. Who's this? The third guy, I believe, is in summer 22. See, here's another thing. In summer 22, he had been accused of fighting another prisoner and ordered held. And which officer is this? Inside the prison system, he began showing signs of mental illness. Oh, they're back to Mr. Kennedy again. I believe we started with Mr. Kennedy, correct? All right, so now they're back to Mr. Kennedy. He had mental health issues. Okay, according to his mother, he fell in with the wrong crowd. I get it. My mom thought all my friends were the bad guys and I was the good guy and I was the victim. Um, I get it. She's upset, but gang-related shooting convicted again. This is a system that Mr. Kennedy got caught up in that screwed him over in his life, and this system is from the existing power structure. So he's in 25 years left for a gang-related shooting. He began showing signs of mental illness. Now, it could be the system he's in that's mental illness. It could be the fact that he's in prison for the next 25 years or dealing with the fact that he killed somebody. In summer 22, he'd been accused of fighting another prisoner. That's a funny. See, and so when they go to, he was accused of fighting another prisoner. Like they soften everything he does, and they jack up. A use of force is a beating. He beats up another inmate or gets a fight with another inmate. He's accused of fighting. He's probably got a list of like 100 accusings of fighting another prisoners, which is why, and it's probably from his mental health. But that's not the issue. Once the state decides we got to go in and get that stuff, that's a CERT thing. Not long after, on July 30th, guards dressed in riot gear assembled outside Mr. Kennedy's cell for a cell extraction. See, now, buried deep. This is the same thing that they said guards beat him. All right. But they bury this deep. This is so dirty. These guys are evil. You have to read all the way down here. And then and they put cell extractions in quotes over concerns that he had items from the mess hall. That doesn't sound right. Because I thought he was in the box. If he was in the shoe, he just kept his tray. If he was held in solitary confinement, he wrote prison torture. He needed to be transferred before an officer murders me. All right, so he's unwell, so it's not his fault. He's being bad, but when mentally unhealthy before an officer murders me, now that's legit. Even though he's mentally unhealthy, that's completely legit. Again, their absences were captured. No, that it was ordered. Yeah, they use force and strikes and pepper sprays, and he's apologizing, and they make, but it doesn't. It's the same thing they had earlier. It's the same. Much over his face. Nothing new. Nothing new. Okay, so here's the problem. He was saying he can't breathe, which is very common. We get that all the time. Like I said earlier, it's how you say it. They say there were signs that his legs were giving way, but that's again, you can see him drop their legs and they walk just fine. He was left alone in his cell for the next several hours. So here's a fix for me that would have saved his life. Put him on a watch. If you know that he had strikes to his head and he's got marks to his head, um, then he goes on a watch for the night. And it sucks, but that's a solution. Officers can't stop using force. That's not a thing. Not right now. And when officers finally opened, and he was in a shoe unit, so he didn't go to the mess hall, so that's probably not true. So the coroner noticed lacerations to the head, body, and fractured ribs, possibly cut. So that, all right, that's important that they put that in there. So he had fractured ribs. I didn't see any strikes that could do the fractured ribs, but he possibly caused emergency effort more than like, and they know, like if there are ribs here where you're doing like, because immediately when they find him, officers immediately start hitting his ribs, and they crack ribs all the time. That's just part of doing it. He was found to have no toxic substance in his body, but what they could put on that is it's very common for K2 to not be able to found. That's why we have however many unknown this year. It's impossible to say what led to his death, but we're going to act like they beat him to death. So they looked into it and no developments. Dr. Milroy concluded it appeared the guards had not caused his death. He considered the spit hood as causing the death, but in his opinion, too much time had elapsed between Mr. Kennedy was put in the hood and when he stopped breathing. Yeah, people don't typically die of delayed asphyxiation, which is what the original guy. Up at the top, you have an independent guy saying, "Oh, I think it's because of the spit mask." And down, you have the guy goes, "Listen, I thought it was the mask, but people don't usually die of I can't breathe, and then we let you breathe, and then you die. It's not a thing." But this is buried in the article, and honestly, half the people, probably 80% of the people that started my video, aren't going to get to see this. I might do a separate video and pretend it's an AI clipping and of just this part. I should, because this is the shit that they bury. They looked at it and said the asphyxiation was not because of the officers, probably, and did not meet the. And Jesus Christ. And at the bottom, at the very bottom, again, not up at the top where everybody starts reading. Nobody gets down this far. Hell, I didn't even really get down this far. I started reading it, it pissed me off, and I started doing a video. So down at the very bottom, Nicole March, a corrections department spokesman, said that the video showed the use of force during the cell extraction was consistent with agency policies and procedures, and that Mr. Kennedy had been assessed by a nurse. That's good, but they need to go one step further they need to put out the trash that Salazar is putting out, and that the trash they bury all this stuff in the very bottom. Somebody killed him, said Mrs. Charlie. Seems like they can do all of this and get away with it. You gotta be kidding me. I want all the unknown deaths um, to be checked out. And perhaps if we had a different system where they put them on a one-on watch, and that sucks because there's no damn staff to do that with. But demonizing staff isn't the answer. All right, I'm done reading this stupid article. There can't be anything good down here. This guy, current served for 9 years for attempted murder, kidnapping, and other crimes. And please don't forget, like I'm with you. Bad things shouldn't happen to these guys, but these guys are assholes. These guys have done terrible things and usually continue to do terrible things. And even if you feel bad for their mental health, which I do, I've seen. It's kind of funny in corrections because clip this one, Opus. Uh, when a guy comes up in mental health, you're like, oh god, because it's 100 to 1 that it's legit. And when you see a dude who's really like, I walked a dude, I remember, and he's like, I'm sorry, Sarge, I'm sorry, Sarge. I gotta get away. I gotta get away. The voice is in my head, and he was legit, and I'm like, we got you, guy, we got you. And it's so funny because when staff has, it's like almost, it's it's almost a relief to have someone that you know are legit mental health issues. Like I understand now that I've been out for a while the mental health issues officers have and inmates have, and that maybe a lot of times I thought they were fake and they really weren't. But when you get an inmate with an actual mental health issue, like, oh man, we got you. You're good. Don't worry about it. And you kind of relax, and you're still you worried about yourself a little bit. Like you always have to stay on the defensive. You always have to be ready for them to go. But when you actually think that they need help, um, it's better. The guys that come in, and a guy comes and you know he's playing the game. You know he didn't get enough toilet paper. He's mad because he didn't get a feed up. He didn't get let out for chow, and he's just trying to push powers away. That puts something in you. You're like, just do something. Give me an excuse. And that puts something in me, and I'm a generally happy person. So what's that do to somebody who is a generally angry person? Yeah, so a lot of this, it looks like when you get to the bottom, they're bitching about prison health care. But boy, it doesn't start. History of strokes and diabetes. He died. Guards at Greenhaven facility struck him with batons in the head, stomach, and ribs. So an assault they had. Okay, the guards were upset over an assault they had other inmate had committed on a correction officer. And okay, according to the inmate who witnessed the beatings. Yeah. According to the gangster murderer rapist, this is what happened, and we're going to put in there. Now, this guy, it looks like he suffered head trauma. You're also going to get, because of force, which is necessary in a prison situation, you're going to get guys that die. I know that we teach don't hit him in the head. Don't hit him in the head. Um, we teach, and I'm talking about teach, CERT teach, don't hit him in the head, dummy. I've had officers in use of force. I'm like, why'd you hit him in the head? And they're like, Sarge, I wasn't aiming for his head. It's just he moved at the last minute. And that's a good answer. Because if you tell me you're hitting him in the head, I'm going to say, asshole, I want to retire. Don't do that. So they do get hit in the head. And there are guys you got to worry about being because it's not because I don't think it's because guys just want to like kill inmates. I think guys lose it in the emotions. That's one of the reasons I never carried a stick. It's much harder to lose it. But I'm 6'1", 350 pounds. I have a lot more natural tools to work with. Um, but I was always my biggest fear was if I at 6'1", 350 pounds hit a guy in the head with a stick, whether I did it on purpose or by accident, and both those things legitimately happen in the use of force. I don't ever my whole career was until I became a sergeant until a couple years before I became a sergeant. My whole career was based around getting home and retiring in 25 years. That's all I cared about. And I've always preached don't hit him in the head, and that's the culture is not to hit him in the head. And medical staff, I won't talk about medical. I love our medical. If there's medical issues, if there's a if there's a problem with the medical directives and the medical procedures, then we need to fix that. But what we don't need to do is blame it on this whole New York Times. And I saw on Vinny's that it's Channel 7 portrayed this like it's a legitimate thing when it's really not. So that's it, man. I know nobody watched this to the end. I know I started getting repeating, but if you did make it to the end, thank you very much. Like, click, and share my shorts. They'll be a little bit better. They got to stop. We really got to stop. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Um, they're attacking human beings, and it's the system that's poison. So, thank you, everybody. I'm going to go back and clip out some of the stuff from my first video that I screwed up. Um, I love you all. I hope you have a great day. I'm terrible at shutting these off. Sorry. Only everybody only watches the shorts anyways. Nobody watches it to the end. If you did watch it to the end, thank you. I love you. Have a great day.